Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. I'm feeling mighty good today. Ladies and gentlemen, I got my TMNT sweater on. I'm dressed for the occasion. Right next to me is Raphael. You may know why. We're going to talk a little bit about Shredder's Revenge and why it relates to you Xbox fans. On the news docket for this Xbox news update as well, we're going to talk about another exclusive getting delayed into 2023. Things are starting to look really bleak now. Oh, boy. Beyond that, new consoles next year, possibly leaking? We'll talk about it. Doesn't seem to be much there. We also have a lot of fun conversations I want to have in this video. A random Xbox 360 game that everyone hates and I kind of have a soft spot for is coming back. And also, we're going to discuss the Xbox achievement system in light of the PlayStation Classic games getting trophies. So a lot of conversation here that is to be had. We're still waiting for that Xbox Bethesda game showcase where news is really going to pop up. So welcome one, welcome all. Thank you for lending some of your time today. Let's dive straight into it, starting off with my turtles. So why is this important? Why is this relevant in an Xbox news update? I've been a big supporter of limited run games for years. I'm a physical game collector. I love what they do there, finding all these different indie games, sometimes very popular series like Star Wars games, working with these brands and creating limited physical releases for fans to buy, get the nice manuals in there. It's like you're buying it again, even though it's a game from years ago. It's awesome. However, it's only great if you have a PlayStation or a Switch. Xbox just never got involved with this. I don't know why or how, but they never did. But starting off with TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, they are doing a limited run release on PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox. Finally. And there's something special about that, right? The green and green. It makes sense. But what I am so excited about as someone who has played this game at PAX East 2022 is it's a complete love letter to TMNT Turtles in Time. I don't talk about TMNT a lot on this channel. It's not very relevant to literally any of my content, but I read the comics. There's TMNT stuff everywhere in this office. I have the arcade cabinet out in the hallway. I have TMNT art here. As you can see down here, there's some figures like these. Well, I had it backwards, like these. So yeah, I'm obsessed with the franchise. Again, playing this game at PAX East I was like giddy as hell. I was making the developers blush because I was like, oh my God, to everything. I'm so excited for Shredder's Revenge. So I just wanted to put everyone on the lookout for that. Be ready. Have your cash in hand. They're going to reveal the collector's edition on June 6th. So with that, let's move on to actual news. Let's talk about Replaced. This is a game that looks absolutely rad. It was revealed at the last Xbox E3 showcase, and it was there we saw this pixel art game. Looked like it was going to be moody, kind of a vibe, and suddenly the trailer just kicks it up a notch, and now we're kicking the life out of things. There's really smooth combat here. It looks extremely unique, and Sad Cat Studios, the developers of Replaced, were the developers that also went on record as to saying Xbox, quote, actually cares, end quote, about indie developers. And I thought that was very interesting. They're very pro Xbox. So they will be releasing Replaced exclusively on Xbox, day one on Game Pass, and I'm very pumped for it. With that said, and while it's completely understandable what's happening here, we are sad to say the game is getting delayed to 2023. Here is the letter from the developer that they posted on their Twitter account, where they say, today we're making the difficult decision to delay Replaced until 2023. The Belarusian-based studio working on the game, Sad Cat Studios, has a team of talented developers from Belarus and Ukraine. Unfortunately, the continued war in Ukraine has heavily impacted the development of Replaced, as most of the team resides in the neighboring regions. The priority for Sad Cat was for the safety of the team and their families. As a result, part of the team has now relocated and work has only recently restarted on Replaced. Publisher CodeSync, parent company Thunderful, and developer Sad Cat Studios have decided to move the release to 2023 to ensure that the game is in the best state it can possibly be. We are continuing to work hard to match the quality you've come to expect from the trailer, but are prioritizing both the physical and mental health of the developers by not forcing the original deadlines that have been unexpectedly impacted. Thank you all for your continued patience and support for Replaced and Sad Cat Studios. It won't be long before you can enter the void. So a similar situation here to what happened with Stalker 2, out of developers' hands, really unfortunate. This letter, though, I just want to compliment the team who put this letter together. It reads a little different. It feels a little more transparent compared to what we've seen in the past of like, we have delayed blah, 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 and we are doing this for the best quality possible, and kind of just repeating that. I like how they're talking about respecting the deadlines that were originally there, acknowledging them, talking about mental health and how a war will definitely take a toll on that, especially if it's near the region that you are living in. So really respect this letter here. On a side note, though, again, same energy I have for Stalker 2 I have for Replaced. Both these games look phenomenal. Both are casualties in a much larger conflict, and it does hurt the Xbox ecosystem. It's another one of those things where it's like, it's out of their hands, man. And again, it's why 2023 for Xbox, I talked about it in a separate video. It feels foolish talking about it because I don't want to make it sound like I'm hyping it up. But 2023 is just going to be loaded up for this company. For better or for worse, there's going to be a ton of games to catch up on. That'll be fun. But there's going to be a lot of games releasing right next to each other. So many games that entered like full production within 2020 to 2022 are hitting delays because of the pandemic, now the war. There's just so much stuff happening that's moving these games back, and 2023 is looking to be an explosion of games. We got a taste of that here in the beginning of 2022, and then it just dropped off a cliff. Anyway, unfortunate what's happening with Replace, but completely understood. Best of luck to the team, and no rush on it. Game looks fantastic. With that, let's talk about these new consoles. What? Seems like a bit of an estimation here that's making some headlines. I respected the article that GameSpot put together because I think they were very transparent about what was happening here. So let's read. TCL apparently thinks PS5 Pro and new Xbox are coming in 2023-24. According to the Polish outlet PPE, TCL's presentation showed the timeline of consoles starting with the PS4 and Xbox One in 2013, and then the release of the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X a few years later. The presentation also marks the launch of the 9th generation of consoles with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S in 2020. At the end of the slide, it lists the PS5 Pro and an Xbox Series X and S. TLC claims that these consoles will provide 60 to 120 FPS resolution at 4K, as well as the ability to have 8K display. Apparently, they will also utilize AMD Radeon RX 7700 XT technology. And as we can see here, this is the slide that's been making the rounds all around the web. This is their personal estimation as a company. Obviously, they would have better insight than probably any of us. However, right now, we know that PS5 shortages are going to continue through 2022, according to Sony, and chip shortages are going to last until 2024, according to Intel CEO. A lot of people are equating this to the One X, right? Like, it's got to be this whole console revision. It's going to boost the power of the box, what the console can do. And I do understand that. I do think that's possible. But my estimation is that this console generation, just by the nature of what's happening in the world and games getting pushed back, that it will go on a bit longer. It'll kind of be like what we saw with the 360 generation, where it just was a very long, stretched out one. And I think it's because we really wrang the power out of those consoles dry until people were kind of tired of them, which I personally wasn't. I love the 360 generation personally. That was like a goated generation in my opinion. Just so many good games. But I think because of what's happening around the world, of course the pandemic, so many things being set back, chip shortages, that we will see this console and the refresh cycles be a little more stretched out. What can happen though are simple revisions. This is something that is not being referred to here in this slideshow, but I do think could happen in the 2023-2024 window. I look at my PlayStation 5. Look, I love my PS5, but that thing is way too big, way too ugly. As someone who has a very small bedroom right now, it's very unfortunate because that thing is just this hulking piece of plastic. Once they revise that thing, I've never bought into a half-step console. The only time I got one was, funny enough, Xbox sent me the Gears 1S, which was really cool of them. Outside of that, though, never bought into any of these half-steps. I bought my default console. I was not interested in the half-steps because I didn't have a 4K TV up until just in 2020, so it took me a while to upgrade to even that. So I'm always behind in the technology stuff. I just care about the games. To me, that's what matters the most. I don't get too caught up in the tech hullabaloo. Not that it's not important. I'm trying to turn a corner on that, of course. But like with the PlayStation 5, if they were to do a smaller version of that, I would be all over it. What even is the shape of it? I was about to call it a rectangle, but it's not. Like it's this thing. I would love for them to shrink that thing down. That would be great. So I could see revisions happening with the same tech since they already have access to that. However, with chip shortages, I could see something happening by 2024. But again, time will tell. It's anyone's guess, including, I would imagine, TCL. Now, let's talk about Sonic. Yes, I know. Everyone's big on the blue blur again. And I got to be honest, if you've been watching Retro Rebound, you know this. But if you haven't, I've bent the knee. I've been playing a lot of older Sonic games, and I'm getting it now. I get the appeal, the allure of the blue blur. One game I always had a soft spot for, however, was Sonic 06. And I know that is a infamous video game that is absolutely terrible. We featured it on this channel here for Humanity's Worst Video Games. It is, by all intents and purposes, a tragic video game. It was supposed to be kind of this Sonic Adventure 3 mentality. It comes out, it's terrible, it's broken all over the place, it controls horribly. Now they're remaking it with Sonic P6, which looks, by the way, amazing. Very excited for that. You can play the demo for it now. But now you can go to your Xbox 360, if you had the storefront up, and Sega decided, let's sell this thing again. So you can go out and buy it for a couple bucks. And, you know, look, take it from me, I grew up with Sonic 06. I remember when I bought my PS3, this was the game I bought it with. I was so excited. I played it through to completion. I loved it. I really did. I really enjoyed it as a kid because I didn't know any better. And now suddenly what I said about the half steps with consoles and me not caring about tech makes a little bit more sense to you all. I know. But going back to it now, it's really bad. I'm just throwing it out there. I thought it was an interesting nugget. I also thought it was cool that they're doing it. And I really hope that out of all the games that got FPS boost and some that were left behind, I thought 06 was one of them that could have really benefited from some type of next-gen refresh. It never would have fixed the controls, but at least it could have been better. Again, fan modders are on fixing that game, but Sega probably wants to leave that one in the past. Let's move on to our last conversation here. This one I'm really passionate about, and I'm sure I could dedicate a total video to it at some point. I might. So Xbox invented the achievement system with the launch of the Xbox 360, and that was a big reason I was a lover of the 360. The achievement system was such a fun meta game to me that I found myself exploring and playing other games because I enjoyed getting my gamer score up and earning new achievements, that I go try some racing game like Pure, and then it was more rewarding. It was gratifying to play a game I was super excited for, like Prototype. One thing that Xbox fans have always wanted, and we were asked on Defining Duke, I've been asked on this channel multiple times, was, hey, could we ever do like back-compat games like the OG Xbox games? Like, I want to get achievements for Fusion Frenzy. Could I get those, Matty? And I always thought, well, I feel like Xbox would have tried to do that. And if they could have done it, they probably would have. Not to assume too hard here, but they were leaders in backwards compatibility with initiatives like FPS Boost. So to me, I thought, well, if this is something that they are passionate about, which they've shown to be, then they probably would have already tried to see if they could make that work. Hilariously, PlayStation, the company known for not really being big on backwards compatibility and taking a bit more of the Nintendo Switch Online route, has very wisely found a way to put trophies in their classic PlayStation games. This was revealed on the Ben Studio Twitter account, where they showed that Siphon Filter will have its own trophies. And now it's been leaking all over. So many games like Ape Escape even are going to have their own platinum trophies, and it gives these games new life. Xbox has been lapped in this area. They created the achievement system that PlayStation borrowed. Again, going back to what I said about the Marvel games deal with Xbox, how these two take a lot from each other. They go back and forth. PlayStation took the trophy idea and built it off of the back of achievements. And have they evolved it that much? Not really. The platinums are kind of the crown jewel of all the trophies that you get. And for me, that works really well. I am totally guilty of buying tons of PlayStation games because of the allure of the platinum. I just like popping trophies way more than achievements. And I know that's personal preference. And I do like Microsoft's reward system. I think it's highly underrated and not talked about nearly enough, which achievements do play a factor in getting you real money. But again, Xbox really isn't pushing that. But now, as PlayStation has moved into the territory of saying, well, these classic games are bringing into these services, fuel that metagame more, Xbox, look, I know y'all did an amazing job, and I will never shortchange their incredible job of FPS boost for 360 games, all the 360 back-compat games we have that we can put the disc in there, and it will emulate the original games from the Xbox. It is amazing what they've done there. You can't keep getting lapped with the system you built. And I know that Jason Ronald, who is a part of the team that would be working on this type of stuff, has said on my good friend Lord Cognito's Iron Lords podcast, it is something that is on a list to take a look at the achievement system. But at this point now, again, I know the pressure's a little more reactionary here. We've put it on Defining Duke for months, so for me, it's not reactionary. For a lot of people, it is. But this is something y'all gotta get on. This cannot sit on the back burner any longer. Some may look at that and say, Matty, it's achievements. We're not really buying games for that. But this is what I talked about with things like visual novels. It's in my JRPG video as well. You serve all these smaller audiences and you build a much larger ecosystem for those audiences in turn. So if you're doing things to move achievements forward and people who are big trophy hunters are looking at achievements, that can, much like it has for me and many others, be the make or break moment on, do I buy a copy for Xbox or do I buy a copy for PlayStation? Everything in your ecosystem matters. We can't just keep going Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. It's a combined effort of multiple systems working that make your console attractive. I'm not trying to dunk on Xbox. Again, I like achievements. They're fun. I think Microsoft's rewards program is also very fun, rewarding your digital purchases, rewarding your achievements, playing games in Game Pass. Good ecosystem there. They need to promote it more, and I do think the achievement system needs like a crown jewel or something that's like the top level achievement once you get them all. And I do think they need to look into retroactively adding some achievements, or in this case, trophies, to these older Xbox games. 360 games already have it, right? Most of them by default, some don't. But then you look at something like the OG Xbox games, and again, like Death Row, Fusion Frenzy, I think of these games that I love on Xbox, and how much new life could be breathed into them through achievements. They got to take a look at it. And if they have already, look again. And I know we hammer PlayStation, for example, with like the PS3 and how they're doing PS Now streaming through this new PS Plus service, and it's kind of whack. So they're not fully winning here, but I would just really love for Xbox to figure this out so that they don't move down the totem pole here on what they've done for backwards compatibility, as they have been leaders in that space despite their horrible DRM policies. Anyway, that's all we've got in today's video. Some news, some discussions. I think this achievement system discussion could go into its own video at some point, so do keep an eye out for that. Eventually, I do want to test out PS Plus, see what it's all about, see what these trophies are like, and get a feel for that entire system before carrying my conversation forward. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you're thinking about the various topics we discussed and covered in this video. And with that, I leave it in your hands. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.